So this is IDX Pro by iHome Finder, and just right off the bat, it's kind of a smallish map. Uh, so you want to start zooming in, you can. These are city icons. You can click on those and start zooming in, or you can use filters here and type in a city. And a little bit of an issue here: your map zoom in and out button is floating on top of your price list here, so a little bit of a CSS problem here, but still usable. And so you can punch all this in. Nothing happens as you do it, but once you're done, you can click refresh results. And this is kind of nice. It brings up a boundary of the neighborhood, or in this case, the city. And it looks like I need to zoom in a little further. Says 212 listings. Continue to zoom in. Eventually you get to the point where it can show. It looks like you have to have below 100 before it starts displaying the actual listing icons or markers. And there's a different icon for condos and houses. I always like that. Hovering over them does nothing but turn it green. You would think it would give you some information like the price or a thumbnail, preview of the information, but it doesn't. You got to click on them to do that. And nothing seems to be happening when I click on it either. It's very slow to update when you move the map. I'm not sure why that is, but that's not very user friendly. I'm just going to pause here until it updates. So while I was waiting, one of the thumbnails came up, but we still have this map, updating map animated GIF here going. So pretty slow here. I've been messing with it for a while. Sometimes it seems fast, sometimes it seems slow. Not sure why that is. Alright, we got rid of the animated GIF throbber here, so now it seems to be responding fairly quickly. And you can also display results on the left-hand side, but that, I mean, it was already a smallish map search. Now it's like the smallest map search ever. I mean, that's just this very tiny amount of screen real estate to use up. So I don't like that. But at least you can view in a list and a map at the same time. But again, there's no interconnectivity here. Hovering over these doesn't show where it is. Now you can click locate, and then that skews the map over to where that particular listing is. So that's not bad. That's a pretty good little feature. I think this entire display needs to be larger. And of course it's not mobile responsive or anything in either view. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you don't have that. Okay. So let's look at a detail view. Again, to me, it's pretty outdated. I mean, I want to say it looks like something from the 90s, but that's probably too harsh. But early 2000s, to me, the icons and the fonts are very small. The photos themselves are pretty small. Now maybe I can get a larger photo clicking here. Well, you get this giant color box here, but the photos themselves are still small. So that's odd to me. Maybe this particular MLS only provides very small photos. I don't know. Um, you do have your calls to action, but to me the icons and the fonts are kind of dated. You can go back to the map, your listings or your detailed information. We've got about 4 different MLS disclosures here. Okay, there are actually more than one MLS on this feed is why. Anyway, this is also not responsive, and it doesn't appear that these listing views off the map search are indexable. I think they do have an indexable product, but it's separate from the map search. And let me pause here and I'll double check that. So I think I got them confused with iHome Finder, but these guys, it looks like they have a WordPress plugin, but all it does is help embed the frame into your WordPress site. So it doesn't look like they have an indexable product at all. They do, being asked to register here. They do, however, have a mobile version. So, I said earlier it was not responsive, which is true, but they have a mobile version. So I'm going to try changing my user agent to iPhone and see what happens here. Nothing. So it doesn't respond to the user agent that you're using, that being an iPhone that I'm trying right now. So they must just give you a separate domain for your mobile version. I'll check into that real quick. Well, I went to their website here and click on the link for view demo for mobile version. And it says all IDX Pro packages come with a mobile version automatically. Click to view demo, and it just brings me back to their feature list. So I can't seem to get a demo to work, even when I'm on one of their sites registered as an iPhone. Let's do a refresh here just to make sure. So yeah, I don't know how their mobile version works, but bottom line, the map search to me is a bit dated. It's a bit small, and it's not indexable. So not my favorite product that I've reviewed so far. Okay, next on the list is WolfNet, and I was just reading their website and it says that they started doing map searches in 2005, and frankly, this still looks like 2005. This does not exude simplicity to me. It looks unnecessarily complex. If you compare this to the Curator site that I reviewed earlier, that thing just exuded simplicity. It didn't look intimidating. Everything was simple. You have your basic search parameters or the main things you see, and then maybe you open up something to get further details. This thing just throws everything at you right from the beginning. I don't really like, you can search city and county, and then another tab for address or zip, another tab for school district. I like the where you can just type anything in, like Diverse Solutions has, they call it the Omni box. You can just start typing whether it's a zip or a community or a neighborhood or a city, and it comes up. These lists like this, alphabetical lists. I mean, I'm just now into the B's. If I'm looking for a neighborhood that starts with a V or a W, I'm going to be here a while. But it's a map search, so maybe most people are just going to start drilling in. They just zoom to the area they want, start drilling in, and listings populate. So it works well in that sense. The map updates fairly quickly. I'm not a big fan of these icons. I think they're kind of small and dated. Hovering over them doesn't do well. Yeah, it does. It's just a little slow. Hovering over them brings up a thumbnail with some preview of the listing information. You got flags on some of them, like this one is new. This one is one of them was a REO bank owned. But to me, just the overall look of it is dated. It's a nice size map. I don't see. Let me see if I just click search results. I don't see an option to display listings alongside the map. Yeah, you see, you either get a list like this, or you get the map. You can't seem to get both, and you know it's not responsive. I don't believe, no. Um, and this map search itself is not indexable, but WolfNet does have an indexable WordPress plugin, so they kind of work together. So that's an option. It's just like Diverse Solutions or some of the other ones. I think iHome Finder, they have a map product and they have an indexable product, and you can get one or the other or both. Um, so this is a detail view. Uh, Seems a little backwards to me. I would think the first thing you want to see is up top, very large address, the name of the address, price in the photos. This thing has a map first, and then down to the photos. And it's a lot of information that's presented here, but it's a little cluttered. It's a lot cluttered. I'm not a big fan of this layout at all. Now, they do have some neat features here. You can click here and see where the nearest schools are to that listing and the nearest parks. This is actually something I've been asking Diverse Solutions for a while. Can I have amenities on my map? They do provide a walk score, which is similar, so that's nice. You don't actually have, I don't believe. Let me go back to search here. It'd be nice to have those amenities right on this search map. See, let's expand. Even more stuff to choose from. So once you get to the listing detail view, then you could see nearby amenities, but it would be nice to have those right on the map. Doesn't have, the neighborhood boundaries that I like. Doesn't have, but very few IDXs do have that. Doesn't have the ability to view, a list of thumbnails alongside the map, which I like. So it's just sort of your basic 2005 map search. You know, to me, it's not an attractive interface. But obviously beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So maybe some people like this, but personally, I think there are better options out there um, to choose from. But it does everything you would need it to do, and they do have an indexable product as well. It's not responsive, but you know, my biggest complaint is the unattractiveness of it in a pretty decent sized photo viewer, but not my favorite. But your mileage may vary, as they say. Okay, this is a spatial match by Home Junction, and this is probably one of the most unique map searches out there. because of the lifestyle features, which we'll go into here in a second. But right off the bat, it looks like most other map searches. You can use the zoom tools here, or you can just double click and zoom in. Or in these markers, in these cases, if there's several, let me zoom back out. If there's several listings in one area, you can click on those dots and zoom in. Now, as I hover over, I see an area lights up, and I see what looks like maybe, I don't know if that's a zip code. You get, looks like a zip code and then a city name. So I don't know if this is a zip code boundary or a city boundary. But anyway, you can click on those, and that'll zoom into an area. You can also draw to zoom into a particular area. So I want to zoom into this area. However, it doesn't work the way I would think it does, or I would think it would. It's not a polygon search. Other map searches, you draw a polygon, and it only will show you listings inside of that polygon. Well, here, you let it go, it just zooms in. You're still seeing listings outside of that area. And then you have to go and reselect it, because once you've drawn it, you've got the drawing tool out. So now you got to go back and reselect the select tool if you want to pan the map again. I think that's a little bit counterintuitive. Anyway, when you hover over the icons, see here, you get price, beds, bath, and square footage. You don't get a thumbnail though, so you don't see a little photo of the property. When you have more than one listing on a given address, that's indicated. Some of these icons have a little yellow border around them. I don't know what that's for. I looked around. I didn't find really a legend. There is a help thing here, and this is getting into my biggest complaint about spatial match. Spatial match, their biggest strength is also their biggest weakness. Their strength is that it does a lot. It's got a lot of features, but because of that, it's pretty complex. And you look at, okay, the getting started video is nearly a 9-minute video, and then you've got a video on counts and a video on searching homes and lifestyles and areas of interest, and all of these other things are animated help videos basically as well. It might tell you something about the product if you have to do this much explaining for how to use it. I think someone who's a hardcore real estate geek might love this because it's got lots of tools. But what percentage of your prospective clients or website visitors are hardcore real estate geeks? And is that your target demographic? I'm thinking not. So I think it's got tons of great features, but it's a little bit overly complex. So let's dive into it a little bit. If you click on a listing, you get a little thumbnail here, and you can either view it like this, or you can do a list view. Now the list view, the thumbnails are even smaller, and I would think you could make a list view and keep this photo size the same, and maybe squeeze 3 or 4 in this same space. And you could maybe superimpose the price and information over top of the photo rather than sacrificing the photo size. You know, and of course, in this way, you get more listings in a particular view. But you know, to me, that photo size is too small. But when you click on this, actually, you click on details, you get another flyout panel where you get a slightly larger photo, and then you get descriptions and details. And then you can either click here or over here. Then you get a larger photo viewer. Of course, it won't be any larger than the frame and the that the map is in. But there is an option to get a full screen search, and I'll show you that on their demo page. You click full screen, and you get a much larger map view there. And this is kind of wanted to show you this too, this loading and initializing, because it's a little slower than I would like to see. It's JavaScript and Flash. So, Flash takes a lot of your CPU. You might even be able to hear my fan start to spool up on my MacBook Pro here. And of course, Flash is not going to work on any iOS device, not on your iPhone, not on your iPad, etc. So it's strictly, basically, a desktop, product for your website. Not mobile friendly, not indexable. They have a WordPress plugin, but all it does is allow you to embed basically a map or include a link to a pop-up map. And I'm not going to use this demo because it's not hooked to an MLS. So we'll go back to this live site where you have live MLS data. So down here you have schedule a showing is really your only main call to action. You do have, save a favorite, set up listing reports, share it, email it, Facebook, that kind of thing. Okay, here's ask a question. That's what I'd like to see. Maybe you want to ask about this. You want the prospect to contact you, but maybe they're not ready to schedule a showing. So I like to see an ask a question call to action. I think this should be a little larger, personally. Oops. That's just a different view that explains what those icons are. Okay, so let's look at search criteria. Obviously, you can do your beds, baths, prices. And when you make these changes, the map updates live. I like that instantly when you do it. All of your other basic features that you'd like to search for. Of course, you can hit, that's a good call to action there, save this search, which would trigger you to register if you hadn't already. And you can go and see your saved search and saved lifestyles. And areas are another interesting thing that this product does. It's a little different than, I like the neighborhood boundaries and zip code boundaries and that kind of thing. HomeQuest, I think, does it best. Spatial Match does it, but rather than have it here where you could just toggle on it and hover over it, you got to go into this menu, and let's say I do zip codes, and I pick a zip code. Let me zoom out to where you can see that. And so you have to select them. They're not just on the map by default. Now there was a way, let's see if I can find it, to show several of the boundaries. Okay, areas. If I just click zip codes, now all the boundaries come up. But I would have thought hovering over them would tell me what zip code that is. But it doesn't. You have to stop right at the border, then it tells you the zip code, what zip code that is. So if you're like me for a while, I'm just going from one area to another. If you don't stop and pause on the border, you don't get the label for what zip code that is. And so I think that could be a little more intuitive. And you would think too that maybe I could select the one. Okay, it does that. If you do click on the border, it does select that one and illuminate it, but it doesn't eliminate all the other listings. You would say, okay, I want to see properties just in this zip code. You'd think I could click on it, illuminate it, and eliminate all of the properties outside of that zip code. Now I can do that not from the areas key, but over in the Homes key in select areas. So see, there's a couple different ways of getting to it, and I think that your average, home buyer is going to find it a little too complex. Um, but it's got some super cool features. Let's see, let me go to the lifestyle. Schools, public schools, elementary schools. Once I did that, you see these little blue dots come up. Whoops. And those are the elementary schools that I selected. And when I click on it, I get all kinds of information about that elementary school. And I can see even more information. Don't see test scores. That's probably one of the main things you'd want to see. I don't know if that's available in that area. But you can skip, to the next school and go from there. And then, let's see, let me go back to the lifestyles, schools. All right, and so here you can bring out a radius from these schools, and you can see these blue dots grow as I bring that radius out. So if you want to live within a half mile of an elementary school, well, now you can easily see visually which houses are close to those elementary schools. So pretty unique feature that not a lot of other IDXs have. Here's another thing, value. This is sort of like a seller lead capture. I don't see a lot of IDXs that have this. Usually that's a separate feature you got to go get, or a separate product. Getting a seller capture valuation tool where you try to sellers who want to know what their home is worth, get their information. Now you maybe know who a prospective have a prospective seller client. Of course, favorites and alerts are over here. So lots of different things you can choose from: schools, places of worship, shopping, restaurants, coffee, golf, fitness, etc., etc. Lots of stuff that most IDXs don't have. So just you want to reiterate, that's my only concern, or my main concern, is that it might be a little too complex for your average Joe buyer, and they might be intimidated by the interface at first, and you might get some bounces. I found out recently, I did a little informal survey of my website visitors, and I love my map search more than anything else, but most people said that they prefer a very simple display. The simpler the better. KISS principle. And so I think that there's going to be, like I said, this small percentage of users that, once they get this thing figured out and they get used to all the toys, you might have some super loyal buyers that come to your site all the time because you have all these neat features. But the people who just land on the site and want to do a quick search, you might lose those. I don't know. That you'd have to do some testing on this, do some analytics. I think I've seen this on a lot of websites where they have like a basic IDX and they have this separately and they call it lifestyle search or whatever. And so maybe it's sort of a little extra feature you have, but maybe not your main IDX. That might be one way to utilize it. But very unique, and but the downsides are the complexity. It's not mobile friendly, not indexable, but I still think probably worth taking a look at. Now, I did hear that they're working on an indexable product, so maybe keep an eye on the Home Junction website and see what's coming down the pike from them.